Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.
A big warm welcome to everyone and a huge thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast. Our mission is to bring fabulous Australian authors and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Laurie Bell, science fiction and fantasy author, Friday fictioneer, flash fiction reader, writer, reader, short fiction, everything and all in between. And I'm coming to you today from Wurundjeri Wurrung country.
Excellent.
And we are on episode
Yes,
150,
50,
Veronica.
150. Yes, we are indeed. And I'm Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, co-presenter, founder and author of Science Fiction Fantasy, an odd little weird thing that I wrote this morning, which is, I'm not even going to say what that was, memoir and picture books. As you can see with anybody who's watching, the beautiful shelf I'm bobbing down, that is behind me, that the beloved husband, the little handyman, said, I'll just put a shelf there for you, darling.
Such a good shelf.
It is a beautiful piece of timber, piece of red gum with a raw edge that we got from up at Moama, where we're up there. Yes, it came home back in the car, so that was really lovely. So yeah, so we're stepping into a little more professionalism as we go. We've been talking business plans and insurance before we began, but that's okay. That's not for you because we're here for episode 140.
150.
Oh. I have not been drinking tonight. I've got a glass of water. I've had a long day.
Very good.
But yes.
Yes, I could do with a coffee. I'm not. I'm also on the water. So we will see how quickly we both fall asleep.
Indeed, because, we are doing this in between our other jobs. And sometimes our other jobs just take too much from us. Although I must admit, I am having a good time at work at the moment. Fabulous group of people. But anyway, let's look at, just stop it. Let's just give a little sneak preview of our chat today. It was a really interesting one, and it was fairly timely because I spoke with Ginny Grant. Now, yes. Ginny has a long history of working in the publishing industry, which is fantastic, the Australian publishing industry, with traditional publishers. And after a couple of decades, she decided that she wanted to start her own publishing house, Bakers Lane Publishing. And not only that, but she has also started feminist imprint.
The Fearless Imprint.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. So that is for later. But because we have got a little bit more time this episode, I want to give you a couple of John Koenig words. Is that all right?
Yes. Okay. It's been ages. Go for it.
Okay. So I have got the first one, which is agnosthesia. Okay, so this is a noun. So this is John Koenig's Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, in case everyone has forgotten, all our listeners. So agnosthesia is the state of not knowing how you really feel about something, which forces you to sift through clues hidden in your own behaviour as if you were some other person, noticing a twist of acid in your voice, an obscene amount of effort you put into something trifling, or an inexplicable weight on your shoulders that makes it difficult to get out of bed.
I am using that. I love that word. I am so using that. Yep.
Agnosthesia,
which fits with agnostics.
Agnostic, not knowing, and
so
thesia being condition and mood. Agnosthesia.
Well, there you go.
I really like that.
Yeah, and you do kind of sometimes have a meeting where you meet someone and you have to almost step outside yourself and go, what did I think of that person?
Yeah, I don't know. Or if somebody asks you about a topic or to comment on something that is not really your, has not really been in your whole paradigm, and you think, oh, what do I think of that?
What do I think?
And if you're like me, you like to reflect on a little bit before you actually get around to thinking of it. So yeah, there we go, agnosthesia. All right, the
Love it.
next one
Mhm.
is tarrion. Tarrion. And this is another noun. It's the odd interval of blankness you feel after something big happens to you, but before you feel the resulting emotional reaction. So you're stunned by sudden loss, a stroke of luck, or an unexpected visitor, like those tension-filled seconds between a
Mhm.
flash of lightning and the thunderclap which follows, which gives you a hint of how near you are to the coming storm.
Wow, that's a great word.
Yes,
Tarrion.
tarrion.
Love it.
Tarrion.
Mm.
So from tarry, to be late, react or linger in expectation and carry on. Tarrion.
There you
Because
go.
occasionally I remember somebody coming to the door that I hadn't seen for like a decade. And
Yeah.
we live in the country, and some people decide that, oh, we're passing, let's drop in and see if they still live at that same house. They do it, and I think, oh, hi, come in,
I,
of course.
I get that at the train station because I'm in the city all the time. So you just run into people all the time. It's like, I worked with them,
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Well, when you live in a small town like me and you've delivered many of the babies, and sometimes
Oh,
babies are the
wow.
babies,
Yeah,
or
that's
you've looked after
that's
people in
cool.
hospital, or you've just seen them down the street. And sometimes I'm overly friendly, and they probably think, who is that weird lady? Because it's really just somebody who serves in the, one of the shops. Anyway.
Mhm,
But yes, so
mhm.
Taryn, I do like that one. All
That's
right, the
good.
final one
Mm.
is, let me get the right page. I've got my little tag here. Here it is, proluctance. The paradoxical urge to avoid doing something you've been looking forward to,
Mhm,
opening a decisive letter, meeting up with a friend who's finally back in town, reading a
mhm,
new book from your favorite
mhm.
author, perpetually waiting around for the right state of mind, stretching out the bliss of anticipation as long as you can.
Or avoidance.
Or
I
avoidance.
will take that.
I
Oh,
must
cool.
admit that I have done that.
I've
I've
done
had a
it
book
too.
on order and
Mhm.
I've got it, and I think, but this is their latest one, and when I read
Yeah.
this, I won't have anything
Yep.
that's left.
Yep.
And I just got
I've
to wait
done
for
it.
the right moment. I don't want it to be interrupted. I'll wait till I've got
Mhm.
a weekend that I can, yeah. So
Mhm.
proluctance, there you go. That
Wow.
paradoxical urge to
That's a
avoid
good word.
something that you've been looking forward to.
I like that word.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Yes. Yes.
I feel a
There we
bit of
go.
every one of those words today.
Excellent. So agnosthesia,
Mm,
tarrion, and proluctance, those are
mm.
the words. We have
Yes. Mhm.
time for news.
We have the Davitt Awards. The winners were
I
announced.
had that one.
Yeah. Oh, did you
But no,
beat you to
good, 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 good. Yes.
it? So the 2025 winners were announced, and they were actually announced today, which is The Sisters in Crime. So best crime books by Australian women. Oh,
Excellent. To the river. Yeah. Vicky
yep.
Wakefield, we've given that away. Thanks, Vicky. You can find that on the
Yes.
website.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Congratulations.
So, in the Mouth of the Wolf, for the young adult non-fiction, The Lasting Harm, Witnessing the Trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, interesting. Children's novel, The Midwatch, best debut book, What Would I Do to You? That sounds rather intimidating, the way I just read that. Okay, might not be that way. Who knows? And Kerry Greenwood's Reader's Choice, What Happened to Nina? So they have
I
all
have
been
read that
announced. So
one.
congratulations to
Yeah. What happened to Nina?
everyone on
Dervin
that list.
McTiernan is an
Yeah.
excellent reader. I'm sure she's a good reader, but she's also a good writer.
So that's
Ah,
very cool.
that is.
There was also, so the National Young Writers Festival has announced its 2025 program. So it is running from the 2nd to the 5th of October on the land of the Bacall and Worimi peoples of Newcastle, New South Wales. And to open the festival this year, they are speaking on the importance of creating space for storytelling, the role of festivals, and the power of writing. So that sounds very exciting.
Yes.
They're also doing reading events like queer readings and letters to, which just throwing that letters to, I want to know everything. They've got panels and discussions and all sorts of interesting and fun stuff going on, but it is there is the young writers program, which also is running, but that's running a couple of weeks earlier, which is the 22nd to the 26th of September. And that's for writers age 13 to 17.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, look into that. Jump on the NYWF website, and that'll give you all of the details. So, that is very exciting.
That's good news. Good news.
Yeah.
Good news. All right, I shall
I forgot.
close off the David Award,
All right.
but also mentioned that Mianjin, of course, which is a fairly tragic. We heard that Melbourne
I
University
know.
Publishing is ceased funding for the 85-year-old publication, forcing it to close on the 4th of September, which is fairly tragic because so many people got their start with
Yeah.
stories in there. However, they are making the complete archive available online for free from February next year. So, according to a post made on the journal's social media pages. So that is tragic, but good, I guess, that all of those beautiful stories will still be available for people to see, to read,
Yeah.
which is
I
a
was
good thing.
reading the list of names of some of the authors that were published for the first time. Oh my God, they are absolutely huge. So many of these names that are just it's that kickstart you need, isn't it?
Yeah.
That real that one piece getting into something and everything
Yes.
kicks off, and
Yeah.
for a mag to go
Yeah.
down
We'll
after
pay your money
85
to.
years. Oh,
Yeah.
that is so
That is
painful.
tough. That is tough. Yeah.
It's
So
so hard to get any Australian short stories published as it is, and
yes.
then for one of the last big ones to go, it's gutting, isn't it?
It is, yeah,
Mm.
and I think they cited financial reasons for purely fiscal, but
Yeah, they weren't going to pay
yeah,
pay them their money or something. I don't know.
something
I
like that.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's not
All
good.
right. Let's have a look at something a little bit more exciting. I think we spoke briefly about this, about the picture book matchmaker, which is like the speed dating
Yes,
that
the
the
speed
ASA
dating.
had, which is
Oh
fantastic.
my
And I
God.
was interested because a friend of mine is who's
Mm,
publishing her mother's picture book, which is great. Um, so it's literary speed dating with picture book authors. I thought I would just share briefly
yeah.
the numbers, but also what they learnt, which is thanks to ASA for this one. So they had a total of 84 picture book creators invited to pitch. So these all went through an initial sort of filter, first of all.
Okay.
84 picture book creators invited to pitch. 67 were authors. 5 were author illustrators and 12 were ASA style file illustrators who presented their
Wow.
portfolios. So that's where my friend has been looking at all the beautiful stuff.
Mhm.
So 6 children's publishers and 2 agents met with the creators across the 2 days. And the feedback from basically everybody was fantastic. And of
Oh,
those
good.
pitches, 50% received an
Wow.
expression of interest from a publisher or agent following the event.
Isn't that
That is
fantastic?
fantastic.
That's
So
great
just to have
numbers.
somebody interested
Yeah.
is wonderful. So there's a couple of things that they learned, and I'll
Mm.
urge you to go onto the ASA website, which is asauthors.org.au, look up their news. But in brief, they learned that while there are evergreen concepts for picture books, it's always important to come up with a unique approach. So it doesn't mean that publishers are not looking for these stories, but find a fresh take or a
Yeah.
distinctive hook. Yeah, do your research.
Mm.
Number 2, publishers like to learn the personal motivation behind the work and connect with creators on that level, especially true in the children's space where stories are often
Yeah.
highly emotive and stem from relatable real life experiences. And we just had the middle grade authors, our fabulous
Yes.
middle grade authors, Edie Tells a Lie and Breaking School Rules is Easy.
And
And
how
we also had
amazing.
50 Ways to Die in Space,
Yeah.
which
I still love that
I
title
still
and the
love.
cover.
And the
It's
cover.
great. Get
Yes.
onto it.
Thank you, Eileen. Yes, so that's good. So just making those stories unique. All right, number 3 of 4 is, although many of the attending publishers were looking for Australian content at this pitching event, they also noted how important it is to think of your international audience. So how easy will it be to translate your characters, setting and concepts into different markets, which reminded me of Eileen O'Halley telling us about
Yeah,
having not only the words translated, but
but the
a
imagery as well.
bathroom in Australia is different from a bathroom in Papua New Guinea, and so you need to translate the pictures and that stuff. Yes, that's good. Good.
Yeah.
That was just that second iteration that I needed here. And then finally, there are specific questions publishers and agents want answered from an illustrator's pitch, including what kind of stories do you see suiting your style? What are your preferred mediums? Do you have experience with animation or other graphic storytelling forms? Do you write as well? And do you have any story concepts or repeating characters? So all of those things.
So you wouldn't think of those questions. Obviously,
No.
an illustrator would, but
Yeah.
from a writing point of view, that's interesting that's where they
That's what's
angle
come
a
up.
lot of the questions. Yeah.
So read the full article. There's lots more there for you to read, but they're picture book matchmaker, another reason to jump on and be part of the ASA authors. Maybe we should ask them for a cut for everybody that we encourage to go there.
Send their
No,
way.
that's not true. I'm just paying my fees and I get nothing from that, but it's good. I like to support this. I will just say one thing from somebody on Book Sky. I had a little look at Book Sky, and this person says, I really must stop ignoring widely lauded books on the basis they can't be that good, because my life could have been filled with insert author far sooner. What an extraordinary book, insert title there. So there, and then in a side note, how many of us can compete with this, with writing of this quality? So that's Governor Finn Black on Blue Sky.
Now, isn't that I always go down that line as well when I'm reading a really good book and I think, how can you compete? This is amazing. Oh my God. Oh, and all the imposter syndrome comes out and fully to the fore at that point. But
Yes.
there are some amazing books and there are some amazing
Yeah.
authors. And if you don't give yourself the opportunity to read a bit, you do miss out.
Yes.
But that's also in the case of independent authors and self-published authors, because
yes.
one and the same. Because if you don't try, I only read traditionally published books. I have known someone, and you think, wow, you're missing
so much.
out.
Yes, that's
There's
it.
some amazing works.
Yeah. Anyway,
Read
there you go.
widely.
Read and wildly as well.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Read widely and wildly.
Wildly.
Wild readers, yes. I did like that one. So Finn Black writes about Governor Finn Black, an ex-Royal Marine and prison governor, fictional character. So there you go. That was there. And I will just say that the fabulous Sydney Authors Inc., who, many apologies, I was supposed to mention them last time and I missed their July dates and now I've missed their September dates. But anyway, Sydney Authors Inc., local authors, of course, up in Sydney, which is Maria P. Freno and the fabulous Hayley
Walsh.
Hayley Walsh was good. Now, Hayley is chatting to Joanna Nell, author of Mrs. Winterbottom Takes a Gap Year and other things, I think, on Wednesday, the 1st of October from 2 till 3:30 at the beautiful residence room upstairs at the Oxford Hotel in Drummoyne. So if you are up there, jump onto Sydney Authors Inc., INKED, and go along to there. So you can register for that on Eventbrite, Humanitics or Eventbrite. Search Sydney Authors Inc. and you'll find, and of course the authors' books will be on sale there, and they're often also at Drummoyne markets and a few other bits and pieces. So yes, do that.
Awesome.
And Hayley has given us, we've got one Hayley's books out. We've got Not Dead Yet in one of our giveaways in a couple of newsletters ahead, and I know she's got a fabulous Christmas book.
Oh, I know. I've been waiting for that one.
Indeed. So stay tuned for more from that. And I've got the winners for last newsletter, and tragically I've had to switch newsletter platforms again because we've got too many subscribers for the free plan.
Well, that's a good
Not a bad
first world
problem
problem to have. Yeah.
Is it? So so I'm now switching to the plan that the fabulous Kiwi writer Nikki
Lee.
Lee uses. octopus something. I can't remember. I did the research and that's, yeah, so I can now have 2,500 on the free
Yay! So
plan. So
subscribe, jump
jump on.
now.
Yes, because I'm busy posting books to here, there and everywhere. Or of course, if you would like to support us, a couple of dollars a month,
Yes.
a one-off,
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
Jump
Yes.
on to the website and you'll see, you know, any kind of love. Click the heart, give us a couple of dollars, and we'll be really happy. And we'll spend it
Yes.
on postage and making the podcast better. We really will, because we're running on a shoestring here. Fresh air, fuse, whatever you like to call it.
Postage, man, people, come on.
Yeah, I was almost excited that Australia Post wasn't posting to America for a little while. I thought, oh, okay, there's my excuse for not posting. But anyway,
Oh,
all
I know,
all
it's so
we had
tough, isn't it?
authors all up the East Coast this time, but that was all right. All good.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yes, and I was very loath to give away Ishmael Soledad's beautiful
Oh,
hardback
that's
copy of
so
Dias Thesis.
gorgeous.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all right. We'll have him on very soon to talk about other science fiction things. Okay, enough.
Fantastic. Yes, enough.
Excellent. Time
Yes.
for book spotlights.
Yay. Book one that we've got tonight, and get yourselves a cup of tea, get yourselves a coffee or a water, because we've got a few to go through. Mistress of Amber and Flame by Maria Linwood, which is a fantasy. Centuries ago, a kingdom was torn apart by old magic long forgotten. It caused a rift separating the lands into one of peace and one of torment. Now, as the latest in a long line of guardians, Tabulenthe has been chosen. She must be the one to banish the nightmares seeping over from Sagloric, their afflicted brotherworld. But as darkness begins to creep through the border and sightings of the mysterious frontier walker become rampant, Tabula's sheltered home is in grave danger. With age-old secrets, dangerous missions, and questions of loyalty afoot, Tabula must do everything in her power to protect her people. She may soon discover that playing games of the heart and rituals can be fatal.
And it has got a beautiful cover, this one. You'll see it if you're watching, but yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So Dr. Maria Linwood is originally from Hamburg. She has published one novel and two short stories in German. She has moved to Australia in 2022. And she has been writing epic fantasy in English. Maria holds a literature PhD. She enjoys being creative and is working on her skills with a paintbrush. That's so cool. Being outside, preferably in a mystic forest, as we all like to do, is one of her favourite things. Maria loves being active on her bike or running, but most of all with her Brumby Nico.
Yes, and indeed there is a horse on the cover of Mistress of Amber and Flames, and I wonder if that was in fact inspired by Nico. So there you go.
Yeah,
Book
there you
number
go.
2 is Flight by Anne Vines, and it's a historical novel. It's Melbourne, 1942, and the world is at war. Melbourne is a city on edge. Faye Beauregard, the daughter of one of the city's most prominent families, is torn between duty and desire. When battle-hardened American fighter pilot Peter lands in Australia, a chance encounter at the Windsor Hotel, love the Windsor Hotel, throws them into each other's orbit, and nothing will ever be the same. Faye is disillusioned by Melbourne's rigid social expectations and the passionless courtship of Clive Wilson, the city's most eligible bachelor. For years, she had been dying to fall in love and to have a man fall in love with her. But is a proposal from childish, unromantic Clive a fait accompli? Faye is drawn to Peter's raw intensity and quiet vulnerability, while he is captivated by her joy, beauty, and defiance of convention. But love in wartime is never simple. Peter is an outsider, an American, a soldier, and a man shaped by loss. Pragmatic, weary, and haunted by ghosts from the past, he struggles to reconcile with his true identity, while Faye wrestles with the weight of expectation. Their love challenges the unspoken rules that govern class, religion, and respectability. Despite their differences, they share an intense emotional and romantic bond that threatens to upend their lives. They must each decide what they're willing to risk for a chance at something real. There you go. So history, but
Yeah.
there's also a bit of romance there,
Yeah.
I would think, fairly strong. tell you about Anne. Anne Vines is a Melbourne-based fiction writer. Her novel, The Shipwife, was published in 2023, and her short stories have appeared in award-winning Australian Writing 2015, Word You Up 2014, Wasafiri Magazine Online 2016, Ring of Worlds 2018, and the Burundara Literary Awards Anthology 2020. So Anne has been busy shaping her craft, which is fantastic. She won the Burundara Award in 2014 and the Keith Carroll Award in 2020. She was commended in the Victorian Premier's Literary Award for an unpublished manuscript in 2008 and in the Baruna HarperCollins Award 2007. Also shortlisted for the Alan Marshall Award, the Age Short Story Award, and the International Wasafiri New Writing Prize. Now, Anne has worked on both the novels at Varuna Writers Centre. She completed a Bachelor of Arts at Melbourne Uni in Literature and History and taught in secondary schools and adult education in Victoria and London, which led her to co-write the VCE English and Literature courses. There you go. So she's got a little bit of good, solid experience behind her. She's lived in England and Germany and travelled in Europe, USA, South America, and Asia. And from childhood, Anne loved reading and hearing stories about Melbourne in earlier times. She was intrigued to find out about the city in the 1940s, the dancing, the music, the Yanks, and the fear of a Japanese invasion. Her aunt's talk of going out and her uncle's talk of fighting in the Pacific were exciting and mysterious. There was a gulf between men's and women's lives in wartime. And the voices of Faye and Peter came into Anne's mind. Then she could see the two of them in Melbourne. After writing a short story about them, she realised they had a lot to tell. And the novel Flight is the story of what happened to them in 1942. There you go. Isn't that amazing that sometimes the character comes to you and I've got a story and then
Yeah.
actually I've got
And I
more to
love a
say.
short story that turns into a novel.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so this one's a good one, and I'm being very judicious with some of my language today, but if you want to read the full blurb, jump online and read it yourself because it is hilarious. Okay. A Shitty Grit by Claire Parkinson, memoir. A laugh out loud memoir for anyone who's ever made a bad decision, or 500. If you love Fleabag, Bridget Jones' Diary, Bridesmaids, or stories where the underdog comes out swinging, this book's for you. You might think she's got grit, or you might think she's full of shit. Either way, you'll think something. And that, my friend, is a win. That's a win. This once homeless, uneducated teen mum stumbled into a life in prison, but not in the way bias may lead you to believe. Packed with raw, unfiltered humour to make you snort laugh and cringe at the same time, this isn't your typical motivational, feel good, or self help blah. It's a no holds barred, mostly true, darkly hilarious story about a woman who lives by the motto, I'd rather regret something I've done than regret something I haven't. If you're still reading, you can probably handle the truth and likely the occasional swear word. However, if you are a prude, a judgmental type, a know it all, a troll, or dislike the author, you can go away. And the bio of this very funny memoir is a proud dual British Australian citizen. Claire Parkinson is the author of Shitty Grit, a wild, true-ish rollercoaster through the chaos of prison, love, and a whole lot of shit, literally. Pregnant at 16, homeless, and stuck in a never-ending loop of crap jobs and bad decisions, Claire's life took an unexpected turn when a misdirected newspaper ad landed her a job as a prison officer. Naturally, being a total plonker, she got kicked out of training. But with teeth gritted and a bad attitude, I'll prove you wrong attitude even, she became a bloody governor. Who knew? After moving to Australia at 40, where everything tried to kill her, Claire had enough of society's judgment on messy lives. So she quit her high-flying job and wrote Shitty Grit, a wild blend of dark humour, awkward life twists, and unapologetic candour that lets laughter steal the show.
There you go.
How
And look,
good's that?
it really good because it was quite hysterical. These three memoirs came in all together. So
Wow.
Ginny Grant was the first, and the next one is Always Eat the Weird Stuff by Bo Kitty. So it's a fearless debut, a genre-blurring work that moves between confessional autofiction, cultural memoir, and punk prose. Set against a backdrop of Melbourne's gritty underground scenes, this book is a raw, sharply written meditation on grief, identity, transformation, and the strange rituals we use to find meaning. Bo navigates the cracks between chaos and clarity, recounting the highs and heartbreaks of a life lived at the fringes of the mainstream. She writes with the urgency of someone who has seen what lies beneath the surface and refuses to look away. These stories move through clubs, bedrooms, forests, festivals, family homes, and sacred inner spaces, all the while asking the reader to confront what they avoid and to find grace in the discarded and overlooked. This is not a clean literary narrative. Always Eat the Weird Stuff does not wrap itself in neat arcs or typical redemption tropes. It is messy, non-linear, and unapologetically alive, just like the world it reflects. It's a book for anyone who has ever loved too hard, lost their way, stood at the edge, or cracked open instead of shutting down. Bo's writing style is equal parts lyrical and blunt. Think rock meets prose poetry. Think Joan Didion if she'd been raised on warehouse parties and riot girl zines. She's unafraid to expose personal failures, question cultural myths, or dig into uncomfortable truths. But beneath it all, there is a deep sense of care for her people, for the broken parts of self, and for a culture in desperate need of re-enchantment. More than just a book, Always Is the Weird Stuff is a cultural offering, a call to stay awake, get uncomfortable, and make meaning from the mess. It's for people who've been told they're too much, too weird, too loud, too emotional, and have decided to lean into it anyway. So if you've ever danced through heartbreak, searched for sacredness in strange places, or tried to write yourself back into wholeness, this book will meet you there.
How good is that?
That's
Love
good.
it.
I
That's
love people that just pull at the chaos. I really like that line where she's, like in between chaos and clarity. It's fantastic. All right. So Bo Kitty is a writer, coach, and cultural disruptor based in Naarm, which is Melbourne. With roots in the underground music and art scenes, her work blends confessional grit with poetic insight, exploring grief, identity, and transformation through a fiercely personal lens. When she's not writing, Bo runs training and coaching programs under her platform Reality Check, challenging individuals and institutions to engage more honestly with identity, creativity, and change. She also runs a B2B agency called The Real Army, empowering freelancers. She's performed and spoken across the country, from festivals to libraries to book clubs, and remains a loud voice for radical authenticity, creative survival, and emotional intelligence in chaotic times. Fantastic. So
love it.
have a look at that.
Book 5 is Life in Instalments by Danielle Sartorelli, which is another memoir. So, Life in Instalments is a raw and emotional memoir by Danielle Sartorelli, chronicled as Donna, that delves into the unpredictable, sometimes unbelievable events life throws our way. It chronicles the heartbreaking journey of being a sister to a brother lost to addiction and crime, revealing how even the most ordinary moments can give way to unimaginable chaos. Through years of struggle, Donna grapples with the painful reality of her brother James's descent into drug addiction, criminal activity, and the relentless toll it takes on their family. From childhood adventures filled with innocence to the crushing weight of legal troubles and strained relationships, her story vividly portrays the turbulence and heartbreak that addiction inflicts on everyone it touches. As James spirals further into manipulation and self-destruction, Donna and her family face impossible choices, how much they can sacrifice to save him, and how to navigate the betrayal, criminal acts, and emotional devastation that follow. With unflinching honesty, Life in Instalments explores the complex dynamics of family, love, guilt, and the devastating consequences of addiction. It's a story of hope, heartbreak, and the gut wrenching reality of trying and failing to save someone you love from themselves. A must read for anyone who has experienced the impact of addiction, crime, or the struggle to heal and rebuild amidst the wreckage of a loved one's choices. So, Danielle Sartorelli is a memoirist driven by a deep need to tell the unvarnished truth about love, loss, and the complexities of family. Writing under the name Donna in her debut memoir, Life in Instalments, Danielle draws from her own life to explore the raw and painful reality of being a sister to someone lost to addiction and crime. Her writing is marked by emotional honesty and a fearless willingness to confront the chaos that can arise from even the most ordinary beginnings. Through her storytelling, Danielle gives voice to the often silent struggles families face behind closed doors. struggles with guilt, hope, betrayal, and the heartbreaking realization that sometimes love isn't enough to save someone. Life in Instalments is not just her story, it's a reflection of the turmoil and resilience so many experience but rarely speak about. Danielle writes to heal, to understand, and to connect with anyone who has lived through the wreckage of a loved one's choices and emerged searching for meaning. Danielle lives in Australia with her husband of 23 years, their two sons, and when she's not writing or teaching, Danielle is busy tending to all the animals on the family's hobby farm.
Excellent.
There you go.
So some really passionate
Yeah.
and courageous people sharing their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. We have
Yes.
at number 6, Cobra Pose by Susan Rogers and John Roosen, which is a thriller. So you may remember we had Corpse Pose. They've also got Tree
Yes.
Pose and a couple of others happening, which, yes, but this is the
Ah.
next one that has been loaded. A deadly cyber heist, a missing father, and a race against time. When Elena Williams' father, Edward, mysteriously vanishes, the yoga instructor turned amateur sleuth is thrust into a deadly game of cat and mouse. A high-stakes heist threatens the global financial system, and Edward may be caught in the crossfire. Joined by Rick Peters, a battle-hardened photojournalist, harbouring his own dark secrets, they embark on a perilous journey from the sun-soaked streets of Brisbane to a remote island off Queensland. They are hot on the trail of the Cobra and the Wolf, a shadowy duo of international criminals poised to strike. With billions at stake and their lives on the line, Elena and Rick must unravel the mystery before Edward disappears forever. As ruthless hackers close in, can they outsmart an enemy who's always one step ahead? Cobra Pose is a pulse-pounding thriller filled with mystery, cyber intrigue, and a slow-burning romance, keeping you breathless until the last page.
And I love these two's bios.
They are great. They are really good. Let's tell you about Susan Rogers, who trained military personnel on how to shoot straight. She wanted to be a writer since age 6, but took a detour, becoming a commissioned naval officer. And then as a marine inspector, she boarded ships at sea, jumping onto narrow Jacob's ladders while ocean waves crashed below. Together with John Roosen, Susan orchestrated sting operations against rogue vessels. She switched to battling natural disasters in New Zealand. And when posted in Abu Dhabi, she decided saving lives included health and safety on billion-dollar building projects. In her spare time, she rents a presidential yacht, the USS Potomac, from its watery grave, transforming it into a museum. John is a hazardous materials Superman. Designated as a law enforcement and naval officer, he had a few special powers. While beginning his career as a biologist, he changed outfits to an environmental emergency specialist. He's been on every continent, including Antarctica. At a moment's notice, he can snuff out chemical and refinery plant explosions, deal with rocket fuel plant meltdowns, and dismantle illegal drug labs. With Susan, John dished out solutions for combating international security and anti-terrorism for ports in the Pacific. John switched careers to chase pirates and deal with a con artist extraordinaire while on a remote South Pacific island. In between, he organised jungle expeditions and deep-sea scuba diving. So, when it comes to writing, they just dig down into their backgrounds. Likely one or even both of them have some real-life experience that helps make everything they write seem real, because usually it is.
They sound like characters in a book themselves. It's
Indeed.
extraordinary. I love that
Yes.
bio.
It's hard to beat that one.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to another fantasy. This is a fantasy short story. So Claria's Battle by Heather Ewings. Claria avoided town. It was too close to the ocean. She couldn't control herself near the sea. The urge to take to the waves too strong. She'd already scared herself once by nearly drowning. It turned out she wanted more. It turned out she wanted life more than she wanted to go home. 25 years ago, Claria's husband stole her crab shell, forcing her into a life in human form as his wife. Claria thought she'd accepted her fate until her niece arrives at Claria's mountain home begging for help. Humans have spread all along the coast. Nowhere is safe for the crab folk to come ashore. But there is good news. They've found Claria's shell. Can Claria really return home after all this time? Even if she does, what help could she possibly be to her family? So that sounds like a fantastic little story there.
Yes.
Crab
Yeah,
people.
nice. Crab people.
Heather Ewings is an Australian author of speculative fiction. She has an MA in history and an interest in myth and folklore from around the world. She is an author of over 40 short stories and 4 books: What the Tide Brings, 2020, Maggie and the Selkie, 2020, Not Entirely Human, a collection of 20 microfiction, 2023, and Claria's Battle, 2025. Her time travel novella, Fixing Kendra, as yet unpublished, received an honorary mention in the Stillhouse Press 2022 novella competition. Heather lives on lands of the Palatori people of northern Trawanga, Tasmania, where she homeschools her youngest daughter, makes beeswax candles, and generally makes a shambles of the veggie garden.
Excellent.
I hear that.
I hear that. See, my kale is growing over the fence at the moment, but anyway, good. All right, I think we can squeeze one more in, but then I think we're done. All right, we've got Outback Odyssey by Paul Rushworth Brown. This is a sweeping historical novel set in 1950s Australia, a time when new beginnings promised hope, but the weight of old ghosts still lingered. So Jimmy, a young migrant from post-war Yorkshire, arrives in the harsh yet captivating expanse of Victoria's outback. Haunted by memories of conflict and poverty, he carries a suitcase of dreams and a stubborn determination to start over. But the outback is no gentle landscape. Its red dust conceals both promise and peril, and survival here is not measured by strength alone, but by the ability to listen and learn. In a migrant hostel on the edge of nowhere, Jimmy finds companionship with others who share his hunger for a second chance. Yet, it is in the vast silence of the bush that he begins to understand the true nature of this place. Through chance and fate, he meets a First Nations elder of the land who teaches him that the outback is not merely a backdrop for adventure, but a living character with its own rhythms and wisdom. As Jimmy works to earn his place in this new world, he learns that the outback demands humility and respect, not conquest. The landscape itself becomes a mirror for his inner struggles, the quiet crisis of masculinity, the need for connection, and the enduring search for meaning in a place that does not speak, but listens. These allegorical currents flow through every page, weaving a story that resonates far beyond its historical setting. Amidst the dust and sweat of his labour, Jimmy meets Amanda, a spirited young woman whose laughter and warmth pierce the silence. Their romance is both tender and transformative, a beacon of hope in a world that can feel as unforgiving as a sun-baked earth. Together, they learn that love in the outback, like survival, depends on listening and unlearning the habits of the past. There you go. So Outback Odyssey is not just a story of physical survival, it's an exploration of cultural healing and the quiet, persistent need for truth-telling. Through the red dust and endless skies, Jimmy's journey reflects the broader national journey towards reconciliation. The outback itself becomes an allegory for Australia's own identity crisis, a place of silence that holds the weight of memory and the possibility of redemption. There you go. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Paul. Paul Rushworth Brown is an award-nominated author whose evocative historical fiction bridges the landscapes of Yorkshire and the Australian outback, weaving tales of resilience, love, and cultural healing. So, born in England, but a proud Australian for over 20 years, he brings a unique perspective, one shaped by his own journey of migration and the search for belonging in a new land. His novels include Outback Odyssey, Dream of Courage, and Red Winter Journey, draw readers into rich, immersive worlds where the past speaks through the landscape and where the quiet strength of the human spirit is revealed. So when he's not writing, Paul finds inspiration in the quiet beauty of the outback and the wide horizons of the Australian bush. His novels are more than historical adventures. They are bridges between cultures and reminders that every place holds its own story if we're willing to listen.
Fantastic.
There you go.
There we go. Oof, that was a lot of books.
That'll do. 8 books, and we've got many, many more, but
Yes.
I'm tripping over the words, and I think that's probably
Me too.
enough.
Yeah, me too.
It's
I
time to go.
can only blur so many blurbs and offend authors so much. So,
No, they put their trust in us, and we're very happy to share their words,
We
and
love
which
to
is all
tell
good.
their
But it's time to talk to
yes.
the fabulous Ginny Grant about Baker's Lane Books and Fearless Publishing and the Fearless Prize. So let's go. Book lovers, I am absolutely delighted to have a very different guest for us today. We have publisher Ginny Grant, and Ginny is also a published author, so that's okay. She's allowed to be on Australian Book Lovers, and we love to have people who are writers. But interestingly, she is the founder of Baker's Lane Books. Now, after more than 2 decades in trade publishing, she launched Baker's Lane this year in 2025 to champion bold, inclusive storytelling and to support underrepresented Australian voices, which is what Australian Book Lovers is all about. Through Baker's Lane's feminist imprint, Fearless Press, she is committed to addressing inequity in the literary world and creating opportunities for women and gender diverse writers, which is an absolutely brilliant mission to have. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you so much, Veronica.
Excellent. Now, I'm here on Wurrung Wurrung country down in southeast Victoria. Yeah, whereabouts are you today? Whose traditional land are you on?
I'm in inner West Sydney on Gadigal and Wangal land.
Beautiful. All right. And we do absolutely pay our respects to all of the beautiful storytellers, the Aboriginal stories that have kept this land cared for thousands and thousands of years. So our respect and thanks to them.
Indeed.
And today is a little bit about you. In fact, all about you. And when I heard about what you were doing, I thought, yay, brave person to get out there and set up your own publishing company in this day and age when print publishing is, swirling and, we hear reports of readers being, decreasing, of young people going to screens and, reading rates going down. So tell me, what was behind starting Baker's Lane Publishing?
I've spent more than 20 years working as an editor in book publishing. And in that time, I worked as an editor in both children's books and adult books. And I worked for most of the leading publishing houses, either in-house or freelance. And I guess I just decided that it was time to do my own thing. And I guess I'm quite an independent person. I really like working on my own, and it's probably no great surprise to those people around me that I've started my own business. In terms of taking the kind of next step from editor to publisher, what I saw in the large publishing houses where I worked was a real pressure to identify the next big trend and secure those rising stars. And that wasn't something that I aspired to do. I'm quite a quiet person in my life, and I wondered about the quieter authors, the ones that didn't have big platforms. I wondered about the emerging writers, diverse and underrepresented authors. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to get their stories out there at a time when there's so much around that is, celebrating celebrity and trends.
Yeah, it is such an important thing to do. And one of the reasons really behind our vision for Australian book lovers was if you go onto the major book sites and you type in Australian authors, you don't get back the range and breadth and diversity of all the beautiful voices that we have here in Australia. And we wanted a platform to celebrate and support Aussie authors, be they traditionally indie or self-published. So yeah, we're on the same wavelength, Ginny.
Thank you.
And we have spoken to so many beautiful voices on here. And I was just having a quick flick through social media this morning, and the fabulous Eugene Bacon, who's gone, who's an African Australian and has gone from strength to strength, supporting, again, the diverse voices from African Australians. And she's just doing some amazing stuff. So I like to feel that, we've supported some of those early authors to get going. Gary Lunsborough, was our first interview on our podcast, about 4 years ago. So, he's done amazingly, and just beautiful. Holden Shepherd, he's delightful. He's now got a TV show, and he's now a really strong advocate for voices. Always was a strong advocate, but, now for literary voices and all of those kind of things. So there's a lot to be proud of in supporting Australian voices.
Thank you. Yes, it's I think that there is something very unique about Australian writing, and I feel really privileged to be working with Australian authors.
Yeah, it's something about when you read, be it a crime, a fantasy, or whatever it is, but it's based in your own town with eucalypts or with, the coffee and the colloquialisms that we use. It just feels right. The voice just
Yep.
sounds so familiar, and it just settles a lot better than, many of the other voices around the world, of course, are brilliant, but something about our own voice. So what do you think is kind of unique about the Australian voice that works in literary work?
I think that Australian authors often do a really amazing job of capturing the love of land that we have, the love of country. And I guess that sense of being in a part of the world that is quite disconnected from the rest of the world, and that sense of uniqueness. I've literally just finished this morning A Catalogue of Love by Erin Hortal, which is a new release from, what are they called? Summit Books, Jane Paul Freeman's imprint at Simon and Schuster, and it tells a story of a coming of age story of a young surfer growing up on Bruny Island, and it comes to my mind right now, in part because it's so immediate to my experience, but also just what Erin Hortal does, the descriptions of that island and Tasmania more broadly, and how the land impacts a person's experience, is so deeply tied to a person's experience, is really special.
Yeah, it is amazing, and a beautiful place. I lived down there for a little while. When you work in health, you can work all over the place. So that was another brilliant, brilliant spot to be. All right. So I can hear your love of publishing, but tell me, what do you love about getting people's work out into the world?
Well, I think that I really love being involved in an author's creative process and helping them to bring their vision to life in the form of a beautiful end product. I have to admit, I'm really not an ebook person. I'm not even, I'm not an audiobook person. There's just something so special about holding a finished printed copy of a book in your hands, straight from the printer, and knowing that you've helped an author achieve something that's really important, and that can go on and affect many people's lives. Then I guess part of that experience is being involved in manuscripts that really excite me, stories that draw me in, characters that intrigue me, vivid, beautiful settings, writing styles that are fresh and innovative, and reading a manuscript and thinking, I'm going to find a way to get this story out into the world.
Yeah. Is there some kind of switch in your mind when you read the first few pages of a book that you think, yeah, this is the one. This is something I have to do, is to get this work out?
Yes, when I'm assessing a manuscript, I tend to read, quite a bit of the manuscript just to give it a good go. But I usually know within a couple of pages
Yeah.
whether something is drawing me in immediately. Some things can be a slow burn and maybe just need a bit of work at the beginning. So
Yeah.
I do press on. But I think you generally know pretty early on whether something's going to take you. And I'm a bit like that in my own reading. I have just so many books which I've started, but they just, by 100 pages or so, just haven't grabbed me. And I decide I'm actually not going to invest my time
Yeah.
in any more of that one.
Yeah.
So I do have a lot of unfinished books.
I feel a bit guilty because I know the effort that people have gone to put that work out, but life is too short to read things that don't interest you. Even it's not necessarily a bad book, but it might be
Yep.
one that's just not right for you right now.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So in 20 years, you would have seen a fair bit of change in the publishing business. What have you learned over that time? What changes do you think have helped or hindered authors getting their books out?
Look, so I started in book publishing in 2004, and at the time there was definitely a focus on trends, but I think there was less of a focus on celebrity. And over the course of the 2000s, I noticed I was working for Random House before it was part of Penguin Random House. I noticed that the books I was being given to edit were increasingly focused on celebrity. Had this person done something, mildly interesting that had made it to TV? Did they have a blog? Did they that kind of thing? And that's only escalated from here through the advent of Instagram and TikTok. There is now just such a focus on having that huge social media following. And I don't want people to get me wrong. There are some really incredible stories that are being told by celebrities. I mean, one of my favorite reads last year was Alone Winner Gina Chick's memoir, We Are the Stars. An absolutely rich and powerful and beautiful. And in fact, in that book, she doesn't even mention winning alone. That's not part what that story is about. So, I don't mean to be down on celebrity-led titles, but I guess what I have seen is that it's come at a cost. And the cost is that we're now seeing fewer authors who don't have those marketing ready platforms getting published. And marketing expectations of authors have climbed so much. So any author who does get a book deal is now being asked to arrive with platforms and audiences, which can be just so tough,
Yes.
particularly if you're not really a social media person in the first place.
Yes, and with the average wage of Australian writers being about $18,000, people usually have a job as well that they have to keep up, and it's hard to balance all of those things, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
to come to a traditional publisher with your audience all prepared. So, as an independent, you've just begun, why would people look towards Baker's Lane? What are the authors or the stories that you're looking for particularly?
So look, my vision at the moment is to publish about 5 titles a year. So that is a very small number, and I will say no to many more titles than I can say yes to. But what I'm really looking for is quality. I'm looking for stories that I feel need to be told, stories that affect me, not me personally necessarily, but that move me emotionally, stories that I think can change people's lives. The first title that I have that I'm publishing is one called The One Remaining by Paula McLean, and it's a literary fiction title. It's a beautiful novel. It's the story of a woman a successful author who sits down to write her memoir and to face the hidden backstory of her life, which she's been repressing for many years. And it's an incredibly rich story, and it delves right into this character's writing life. So she has all her own books and characters which draw on her own experiences as a protagonist. So that's just an example of a title that moved me and that I want to publish. I don't have defined boundaries as to genre. I am looking at a couple of young adult YA fiction manuscripts at the moment. So I am open to publishing children's as well, but non-illustrated, as well as adult. But really for me, just stories that excite me, stories that I feel have to be told.
So crime writers, speculative fiction, romance, still, if they've got a really strong story to tell, could be on your
Yes,
list. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's the thread, the heart of the story that's important. Fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of work for just 5, but you've got a small team ready to go, and I imagine you have a bucket load of experience to put towards those things. And then on top of all of that, you've got the Fearless Prize.
I do.
Tell us about that. So it's this is a $10,000 award for an unpublished manuscript by an Australian woman writer to be published under Fearless Press, your feminist imprint. Now, and it's an advance on royalties. Okay, so
Royalties.
yeah. So first of all, can you explain to our listeners what's the difference between a publishing house and an imprint? Just how does that work?
Oh, right. Yes. So I have set up Fearless Press as an imprint, which is basically like a structure that I'm going to publish my female and gender diverse writers under. And it was important to me to set up Fearless Press, just I guess to make a statement about the fact that I want to champion those voices in addition to my general publications. So Fearless Press is the imprint that the winner of the Fearless Prize will be published under. And as you said, it's a $10,000 advance against royalties and publication in 2026 for the winner. The prize is being co-judged by former Stella Prize winner and acclaimed author Emily Bitto, who wrote The Strays and Wild Abandon. And she won the Stella Prize in 2015 for The Strays. What else can I tell you? I guess we say on the website for the Fearless Prize that we're looking for bold, new, innovative voices, people who are doing things a little bit differently, whether that's the voice itself or whether it's, something to do with the story or structure. And I guess we're looking to identify a writer who will ultimately become a successful author through us providing that path to publication and prominence through winning a significant writing prize. And why $10,000? I felt that in order for the prize to be received well in the industry, it needed to be up there amongst the kind of amounts that are being offered by things like Hachette's Rochelle Prize and so on. And $10,000 is no measly sum for an Australian writer. So I really wanted to put that money behind the winner, and with any luck, we'll discover more than one, great writer and be able to offer book deals to a couple of them. But we won't get ahead of ourselves. For now, I'm only committing to publishing the winner, and we'll see how it goes. The submissions are open until the 31st of October, and the prize will be announced on the 2nd of March.
Fantastic. So it's absolutely now, which is one of the reasons we're absolutely keen to squeeze you into the guest list as soon as we can. So people can enter on bakerslane.com.au/fearless-prize-2026 or just jump onto Bakers Lane and you'll see. And Emily Bitto has the most delightful smile. She's very excited there, and Ginny's got a smile as well with their photos. So yes, the winner announced the 2nd of March. Writers, and we're looking for unpublished manuscript by an Australian woman writer to be published for Fearless Press. So entries have just opened the 1st of September, spring as it is in Australia, and close on the 31st of October. shortlist notified by my birthday. So that's lovely, 15th of December, just in case. So we'll keep an eye out on that. And please let us know, send us a quickie, note, and we can update and let people know that the shortlist is out so they can keep an eye out for what's going on. It's a really good way because to write in Australia is not necessarily a full-time job for most people. And to have a prize like this, and I know there's lots of grants around through, writer centres and government departments and arts groups and all of those kind of things that help writers find the time to write.
Yes, I mean, I hope that it is something that's really life-changing for
Yeah.
an author, or for a writer, I should say, and that their career can really take off as a result of winning the Fearless Prize.
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. So, Ginny, you're a published author. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, in 2014, I wrote a children's book called Australia's Greatest Landmarks and Locations. That was published by Random House Australia. I'm sure it's horribly dated now, 11 years on. That was a big project and really rewarding. I've also had my writing published in a few other places. I contributed to an anthology called Talking Up Young Women's Take on Feminism when I was a young woman. That was 2019. And then most recently, just this year, I've contributed to a new book on neurodiversity called Voices of Neurodiversity, an Inclusive Encyclopedia, and that's by British author Chris Papadopoulos, who's a neurodivergent academic and author. In that book, I share my experiences of being a neurodivergent parent and an advocate.
Fantastic. The diverse authors, it's just amazing, and we can cover diversity in all ways, shapes, and forms. So why do you think it is still these days so difficult? Why are the odds stacked against women authors and diverse authors and unique voices?
Look, I think it's an interesting time. There has definitely been, progress. And if you, look at the findings of the Stella Prize, Stella count, you've got men still getting more reviews and longer reviews, more space
Inches
in
on
the
the page.
newspaper, on the page.
Yeah.
And women of colour and gender diverse authors are underrepresented. You've got women being reviewed less often. You've got debut women writers finding it harder to break through than ever. And then you've got this underrepresentation of women of colour and gender diverse authors. And that gap isn't about talent, it's structural. And I guess from my perspective, that's why we need new independent publishing houses like Baker's Lane, who aren't so focused on the bottom line and who are more focused on opportunity and prioritizing those voices that we haven't heard enough from.
Absolutely. And it is, and even in children's book, we do interview, children's book authors, and we've just had 3 middle grade authors who we spoke to earlier this week. And having children in particular, to begin, see themselves in books, see different faces, see different abilities, see different ways of thinking and being is so important. And then to continue with that up through YA and into adult stories, and for people to be able to see themselves, on television and all of those kind of things is just so critical because the world is global these days. We can't say that we're kind of stuck in our little cameos. So I believe that books and, books by authors of all shapes and sizes, but particularly those who are minoritized, are so important.
Yes, absolutely. You've just, when you were talking, you've just reminded me of a project I worked on in around 2010 There was, and the title's escaping me, but the author is Amber Quay-Mulliner.
Ah,
She is
yes.
Sally Morgan's daughter.
Mm.
And that was the first case that I was aware of an Indigenous author writing sci-fi.
Yeah, love those
And
stories.
for young adults. And I wish I could remember the name of the books.
Catching Talakrow, that was the one that I read as well. The
The
interrogation of
Tribe
Ashala Wolf.
series.
Yes,
Yes, a Charlotte Wolf. That is
yes,
it.
yeah. It was a great story, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So I was the editor on the interrogation of a Charlotte Wolf. Isn't
Brilliant.
it terrible that I didn't remember the title?
No, not terrible at all, because I'm
Sometimes you
sure so many books would come.
so many books they
Yeah,
blur over
yeah,
time, but
yeah.
clearly the writing didn't blur in my mind.
No, and isn't it
And
funny how those stories stay with us, regardless if we can't quite remember some details? But yeah, they're there. Yeah.
yes, yes, no, absolutely. Anyway, I lost my train of thought completely there.
Uh,
But I think your point was about representation, particularly in children's books, which I absolutely agree about, and I have worked for quite a portion of my career in children's books, so I'm acutely aware of that. The significance of representation in children's stories
mm,
from early childhood picture books, right
yeah.
through to young adult books, as we saw with Amber Quay-Mulliner.
Mm,
And then, of course, in adult books, it's just so important for people to be able to see themselves
yes.
reflected in the stories we tell about the world
Yeah.
and about themselves, but then equally for others to learn about those stories as readers. That's tremendously important.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah. And I was just thinking of another Indigenous author, Kat Powers, wrote or a fantastic who's actually an archaeologist. She's brilliant, and she wrote a fantasy series as well, which is just, yeah, wonderful. So our authors, despite where they come from or because of where they come from, bring such a vast range of stories and don't have to tell their own story. But as we know with authors, writing what we know is often our experience and our feelings and our upbringing and our environment, and we bring those things to stories.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the publishing landscape for 2025 is looking pretty good for you.
We will see. We will see. No, look,
Uh,
I'm in this void at the moment where
yeah.
I've printed my books. They are
Yes.
sitting in a warehouse. They will be going to the shops in a couple of weeks' time,
Woohoo.
and the 1st of October is the sale date for the one remaining.
Fantastic.
So no money has been coming in as yet,
Ah,
but
yeah.
so I'm just living in this little bubble
Yes, yeah, which,
of
which is
nice
good. Yes,
stories.
the honeymoon. You're in the honeymoon state.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And we, in fact, have a copy of the one remaining. It is not in this newsletter, but I think it'll probably go in the next one or the one after. So
Oh,
thank you
great.
for a copy of Paula's book to put out. And that is lovely to be able to share Australian stories. And, going out to our newsletter, I had a note from one of our members the other day who said they always like to buy at least one of the books from the newsletter. So that's exciting, if you pick if you happen to be one of those stories. So hopefully every little exposure helps. And that is part of where Australian Book Lovers is that while people, might see it and have a little scroll through, and then they might see it on Instagram, then they might see it in a bookshop, and you've got to get those multiple exposures, don't you?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I guess we were really thrilled to see that the one remaining was reviewed by Books and Publishing a couple of weeks ago. They're great at getting out advance reviews just to get people seeing the covers, learning about the
Yes.
books, getting excited about
Yeah.
what's coming forward. And what are you going to buy for your October's a big month in publishing. The big books come out in September, October.
Okay.
So I'm up there with, some of, Australia's, most prominent authors
Fantastic.
With this title, but I back it,
Yeah, good.
and yeah, I hope it does well.
Excellent. All right. Your advice for debut authors. What is your best advice?
I would say don't lose hope.
Yep.
I think it's incredibly difficult for new writers to secure a publishing contract in this, at this time. And it's really hard not to let those knockbacks affect your confidence in your writing and your story. But I would say keep honing your craft, keep seeking out the advice of readers, that you trust. Keep putting yourself out there because, you might have received those knockbacks, not because your story isn't worth being told, but just because at that time that list is full, at that time it doesn't slide neatly into the list. There are all kinds of reasons which have actually nothing to do with the quality of a manuscript, why a book gets knocked back. So, just keep putting yourself out there. And when you do put yourself out there, put your best foot forward. Don't send me half a manuscript, please.
Good plan. Sometimes I think I don't know whether people are naive, and I remember when I first got into it, I thought, oh yeah, that'll be good, and then I thought, oh, that would be so embarrassing to send out. Luckily, you don't send those kind of things out. So yes, don't send half a book. Go ahead, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I was like, oh.
No, and I guess just to finish that, I was featured at the weekend in the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age, along with several other new publishing houses, new independents, and we are out there and we are looking for those underrepresented, diverse voices. So it could be you.
Excellent. Definitely good advice. And I'm so glad that you have decided to start Baker's Lane Books, and, more power to you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Now, before you go, I always, I really am interested in people's favorite reads, and particularly people that are in the publishing industry, because sometimes people say to me, don't you get sick of reading? Well, never would be my answer to that. Never in a million years. I always have half a dozen books on the go. What things do you like to read just for enjoyment? Because yes, sometimes I read books to review them or to do other bits and pieces. But tell me, if you just want to read a book that you love, what are you reading?
Look, in terms of reading for pleasure, I read quite a bit of memoir.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Gina Chick's We Are the Stars, which was just such a standout for me last year.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of years old, but I absolutely love 10 Steps to Nanette by Hannah Gadsby. I read quite a bit in the disability space. Just the book that immediately stands out to me there is Neurotribes by the late Steve Silverman, which is just such an important read if you're wanting to learn more about neurodivergence. And then finally, I really love literary fiction. Probably my favourite Australian author would be Alex Miller. Prashovnik's Dream is quite old now, but that was just an amazing book. I think his writing is often quite subtle, but just so intense beneath the surface.
Mm.
And then, well, I mean, I mentioned earlier Catalogue of Love by Erin Hortle. That just blew me away. The writing, particularly the way she writes about surf culture in Tasmania, and that landscape is just superb. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll go away and think of many more books that I could have or should have mentioned,
Yeah,
but those are just a few that are springing to mind today.
Yeah, you're allowed to have your favourites. It's a bit like saying who's your favourite child. So you've got to be a little bit careful.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, very good. So any final words for readers or writers out there?
Probably my final words would just have to be about the Fearless Prize.
Excellent.
If you have a literary fiction manuscript and you are female or gender diverse, we would absolutely love to hear from you. And you've got until the 31st of October to get your manuscript in via the Bakers Lane website. So we hope to see some amazing stories come through that.
Fantastic. So Ginny Grant, the founder of Bakers Lane Press and the instigator of the Fearless Prize, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Veronica.
Thank you, Ginny. What a brilliant chat. It was so lovely to talk to somebody who's now got the courage to go, you know what, I think I can do something for underrepresented authors.
And such wide experience over
Yes.
20 years of
Yeah.
editing in different publishing houses. I mean, the amount of information you would know
Yes,
about how the world works, so to
absolutely.
speak.
Yes. I like that she's looking after the quieter authors,
Yes.
but also, you know, they're less popular. And really, I like that she has to hold the book, that she even doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
like audiobooks, but she likes to feel
did
that.
find that funny.
Feel that. So yeah, no, good on you, Ginny Grant. So thank you. And please jump on and have a look at the Fearless Prize. So if
Yes.
you are a woman writer and you've got a manuscript, jump on, because $10,000 could be waiting for you.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I will just say that it is open now.
Yes.
And closes on the 31st of October. Shortlist being nominated by the 15th of December, and then the winner announced in March 2026. So get
Excellent.
onto that.
Yes.
ASAP.
And yeah, also have a look. Ginny, so Bakers Lane is also taking about 5 books a year. So have a look and see what Jenny's looking for.
If you've got that
And
literary
put it on your
fiction,
list.
throw it
Indeed.
away.
Yes. And she
But
just
finish
loves a
the
good
book
story.
first.
Finish the book first. Absolutely. Don't send her half a manuscript. Some people, honestly.
I know.
So these are
Finish
the same people who say, oh, you know, come and go on this panel and fly across the other side of Australia, but it'll be good for your exposure. We won't pay you anything. It's like, yeah, right. Nah. Oh, but you know, you get exposure.
It'd be
I
great
get exposure at home.
Yeah. Yes.
Going down to the supermarket. Pay my bills.
Oh,
All right.
Alrighty.
Let's do some quotes.
Yes. So I thought this was a sort of mix of not only the news, but also the chat that you had with Ginny. And I had that right in front of me and just closed it. So let me come back to it. So the amazing Octavia Butler, who I love to quote at every opportunity, but this one I quite liked. So people who want to write either do it or they don't. At last, I began to say that my most important talent or habit was persistence. Without it, I would have given up writing long before I finished my first novel. It's amazing what we can do if we simply refuse to give up.
Absolutely
And I really
brilliant.
like that one because it's not procrastinating. It's refusing to give up. I like the way she puts it. It's like, don't give up. Refuse it.
Refuse it. Yes. I will admit that I did get on to write do some editing this morning, and then Scrivener said, oh, we've got an update. Okay. Sure.
The update.
Great.
If it's not the program, it's the whole PC.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, that's okay. Tomorrow morning. So yes, I need to go to bed early, but I want to share with you a quote from Flannery O'Connor, and she was an American author from down south of the United States, fairly controversial for her time, but I love this quote. I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say.
I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Because, you know, Jenny was talking about quiet authors and that kind of thing. I thought, yeah, I feel a little bit like that. I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good one.
That's nice.
And if you would love to be on the podcast, there is a bit of a wait at the moment. We're trying to get as many people on the air as we can, and we'll have another writer's room coming up soon, very shortly. But also, if you'd like to support us, you can jump on, as we said, to Australian Podcast, click the heart if you want to get into the subscriber newsletter and win one of the books, and I should tell you what the books are, that would be handy, wouldn't it? Just chat amongst yourself there for a minute,
Okay.
Laurie.
And of course, mine goes completely blank, but that's fine. What else have we been doing? Oh, editing. Lots of that.
Lots of editing, lots of editing.
Lots of editing.
Well, I was going to ask KM Allen, if she didn't mind if we started quoting from her book, The Writing and
Oh.
Editing Checklist, because there's so much good stuff in there. In fact, then I got to procrastinating, thinking, oh, I'll just read that little bit. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should do that one.
Oh,
And so
I
then
need
I
this
ended up,
checklist.
yeah,
Right.
then I ended up not doing anything.
Mm,
So we have got a giveaway, The Fool by Laura Fitzwilson.
Excellent.
We've got
I'm actually talking to her very soon, so that's very exciting.
You are indeed talking
Yes.
to her. The third book is, in fact, Shooting Through, which is an audio book written by Sean Gorman, 1979 Oz, Leaps from These Pages. So, yes, they will be in the next newsletter. So I've still got I've done the newsletter on the new platform, but I haven't done the forms.
Oh,
which
wait,
are
what was the
website.
second one? What was the second book? I
one.
didn't hear the second book.
Oh, the second book, sorry, is The Haunting of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson by Belinda Lyons Lee. And that is about Robert Louis Stevenson. Yeah, and his friend, yeah. It's
Treasure
interesting.
Island.
That
Hey.
person. So, yes, the infamous Scottish a seance with the Shelleys at the Bosco Manor to a haunted wardrobe. Anyway, we'll talk about those next time. So, yes,
Cool.
we've got The Fool by Laura Fitzwilson. We've got Shooting Through, an audiobook by Sean Gorman, and The Haunting of Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson by Belinda Lyons Lee. So they are the next three in the newsletter,
Fantastic.
which is brilliant. So I will try
Yes.
and make September's newsletter come out in September. Well, I was just a little bit late with the last one, so you're going to get 2 this month, but that's all right.
That's great. That's exciting.
Yes.
The
It
more the
is.
merrier.
It is.
It is. Actually, it's September. So if you're starting to keep an eye out for Christmas books and just books for your Christmas shopping or for your own, you know what I'd love for Christmas? Here's a giant list. Get onto some of the newsletter books that we're sending out. They make great gifts, but also gifts to yourself, because that's
Yes.
what I do.
Yes, and you're keeping it in the country and you're supporting our Aussie authors, and that's what we're
Aussie
about,
authors.
is celebrating and supporting Aussie authors. So we need to finish up by saying to
We do.
remember
to
to read
read more
more Aussie
Aussie books.
Bye for
Bye
now.
for now.
Let's meet again when magic happens.